Willy poop. Willy, 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 Willy poop. Willy, Willy poop, poop, poop. Willy, 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 Willy poop, poop, poop. Willy poop. Willy poop. Willy, Willy, Willy poop. Willy, 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 Willy poop. Willy, Willy poop. Willy, Willy, Willy poop, poop, poop. Willy, Willy, Willy poop, poop, poop. Willy poop. Willy poop. Willy, 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 Willy poop, poop.
How you guys doing today? This is Willy P, and this is my reaction. I'm watching some videos today. This will be the first one, and the ones that I do. So let's go ahead and get into this. Are you guys ready for that? Let me see here. Why is it acting like that about my volume? Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and tell you guys what this is basically.
Some would find themselves in perilous, life-threatening.
Well, this one's called Fun Internet Challenges That Killed People, and it's by Wavy Web Surf. Make sure you guys go like, go subscribe, go follow. Let's go ahead and get into this.
The internet has seen its fair share of participatory challenge-style trends. While most are innocuous, today we'll be looking at the rare instances of them becoming fatal. Let's begin.
Get this, more than 250 people worldwide died while trying to take a selfie.
Death by...
I honestly could see that just for the simple fact that you're not paying attention. You're focused on trying to get your camera angle, so you're not seeing what's in front of you. I've seen people doing moving selfies, so I could see how it could be the case.
By selfie. You know, it was only about 15 years ago that simply snapping a photo of yourself and uploading it to social media was seen as novel. Like
Isn't that kind of crazy though? Because no other time in history have they ever been able to pull out a device, take a picture of themselves as quick as we can nowadays, you know? I mean, it's just nuts. But
selfies were viewed as cutting edge at one time, if you can believe it. An unspoken internet challenge came with the advent of the selfie. That challenge, of course, being who could take the craziest one. And unfortunately, some would find themselves in perilous, life-threatening situations trying to get a good selfie, especially early on. Take, for example, the tragic case of 3 teenage girls, Essa Ricker, Kelsey Webster, and Savannah Webster. Their selfie photo is often cited as being the first linked to fatalities. But how could something this seemingly innocuous looking in
holy crazy, like they literally took this selfie? This is the exact selfie they took right before? That's like literally crazy.
Badly. In October of 2011, these girls were out on a hike near Utah's Spanish Fork Canyon. They were having a bit of fun walking around, taking photos, giggling, you know, teenage girl stuff. The group eventually finds themselves at a set of railroad tracks that ran adjacent to US Highway 6. While at the tracks, the girls were lucky enough to spot a train coming through, a pretty good find if you're trying to take cool pictures. And it seemed they all had the same idea that many teenagers around the world were having at the time. Let's get a selfie. It's a pretty cool photo, all of their faces just full of glee. Sadly though, these girls don't know what's behind them. An eastbound locomotive was approaching from behind at the same time, but it seems because of all of the noise involved with the train passing them, they failed to notice the sound of the other one coming. Needless to say, the girls were totally unaware of the life-threatening situation they had found themselves in by taking this selfie. The oncoming eastbound train operators watched in horror as the girls stood almost motionless on the tracks, unflinching, with their faces seemingly fixated on the smartphone used to take the picture. Train crew members did everything they could in the short time they had, but sadly they couldn't get the girls to move, despite yelling, blowing horns, and making as much noise as possible. They were in their own little world. An engine.
Dude, and that's what I just said just a few minutes ago. It's like that's really how it really is nowadays. Like, it's really bad nowadays. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they were pretty dumb back then too, but I mean, that's just nuts that they weren't even paying attention to their surroundings. There's literally 3 of them, and they're so focused on getting this selfie that they don't even notice and they die. That's just nuts. But it's how that's real life. That's real life. It's just crazy. It really is. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Engineer from the train is quoted as saying, totally oblivious to what was bearing down on him. A Facebook post can be found on Savannah's page with the caption, "Standing right by a train. Ah ha ha ha, this is awesome," unquote. In what could have only been seconds later, the eastbound train, which was moving at 39 miles an hour, struck all 3 of the unsuspecting teens. When the eastbound train finally came to a stop, the crew leapt off and rushed to the scene of the carnage as fast as humanly possible. And what they found was devastating. Essa and Kelsey had seemingly been killed instantly, with only Savannah surviving the impact, but she was in critical condition. The teenager was raced to the hospital. There it was discovered that she had dozens of broken bones, internal bleeding, numerous blood clots, and a severe brain injury. The 13-year-old was put on life support and underwent multiple surgeries in the hopes of saving her life. Tragically, though, doctors determined Savannah would never recover from her traumatic brain injury, and 3 days later, she was taken off of life support and passed away. The case of Savannah, Essa, and Kelsey is credited by many sources as being the first lethal incident resulting from people taking a dangerous selfie, which I think is quite saddening considering how seemingly innocent what they were doing was. This selfie is certainly an excusable one in my eyes, as it was an unfortunate freak accident. But the same can't be said for our next case. You really gotta wonder what this guy was thinking. The Russian grenade selfie. In November of 2017, in the city of Lubinsk, Russia, a 26-year-old man by the name of Alexander Sasha Chechik had managed to get his hands on a pretty dangerous weapon.
Dude, if they literally say right now that this guy freaking held a grenade to blow himself up, I'm gonna be like, what the hell?
A grenade. The man snapped selfies with it and sent many photos of himself holding the grenade to friends and family members in an effort to get a reaction out of them. It was all fun and games until a friend received an interesting photo of the grenade. The friend says, "Where are you? Everything is fine?" Alex later responds, "It depends on what you consider normal." This photo was attached. And hey, you guys at home watching, notice anything about the grenade? The fucking pin is pulled out of it. Uh-oh. Moments after sending this image,
I literally knew it. I knew it.
The grenade exploded, killing Alex instantly and reportedly blowing his body in half. Alex was later discovered by police in his car, and they took an extremely graphic photo showing the aftermath of the blast that I can't show here. While you might suspect this to be deemed a suicide, according to the police, that wasn't the case. During their investigation, they reportedly reviewed messages sent to friends by Alex, and upon concluding their review, it appears the man mistakenly believed that grenades only exploded if they were thrown. Thus, he pulled the pin thinking he was safe, and kaboom. The incident was determined to be an accidental death and will be the last dangerous demise-causing selfie that I'll be discussing. The ALS ice bucket death. I hate to tell you, but one of the most positive...
Literally. I mean, the ALS thing was for like a good challenge, you know, that was, I mean, not the, I don't feel like the challenge itself had as much impact as what they wanted it to. But it still had a good cause behind it for what they were trying to raise money for. So.
Positive and well-meaning internet challenges has a death associated with it, and the way that this happened is something you would never expect or predict.
We are following breaking news out of Campbellsville, Kentucky, where several firefighters are seriously injured after helping college students in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
The Ice Bucket Challenge was a worldwide phenomenon that aimed to raise money for those struggling with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. It's a progressive
That's so
neurodegenerative disease that
crazy
affects the
what
motor
those things-
neurons in the brain and spinal cord, eventually leading to full body paralysis and death. No cure exists. While the condition is well known by the public now, 10 years ago that wasn't really the case, and you have the Ice Bucket Challenge to thank for the awareness. The trend of people dumping ice water on each other to bring attention to ALS on social media began in 2014. First participants were athletes who personally knew friends and colleagues suffering from the disease. From there, the recorded challenges went viral, spreading to the greater internet. Much of its spread was thanks to a built-in component of the challenge itself. You know, when you performed it after you got the icy drench, the challenger was supposed to challenge somebody else to do it. So it's like a chain reaction.
And that did work because I mean, I remember seeing a bunch of those at the time where, and like they weren't even just calling out one person, they would call out like 2 or 3 people, and then those 2 or 3 people would call out 2 or 3. So yeah, I could see how I could chain reaction real quick.
Of sorts. And before you knew it, everyone from YouTubers to bona fide mainstream celebrities were participating, all in the name of raising awareness and collecting funding in the hopes of finding an ALS cure. Aside from celebrities, you also had a slew of everyday people, schools, and sports teams getting behind the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge cause. And sadly, it's one of these smaller scale ice bucket ventures that would end in tragedy. This is 41-year-old Anthony Grider of Louisville, Kentucky. Long before this story taking place, the man had dedicated his life to helping others and saving people, working as a firefighter and paramedic. The man was said to have been an uplifting individual, and because of his merit, he was made captain of Campbellsville Fire and Rescue in Kentucky, which is where this story actually transpires. When Tony heard that the local community was banding together in a show of support to help find a cure for a destructive disease, he was all in to help them. On August 21st of 2014, Tony, along with other firefighters from the Campbellsville Fire Department, were helping the local marching band at Campbellsville University. The band was participating in the viral Ice Bucket Challenge and wanted to do it in a big yet unique way. The plan was to have Tony and some additional firemen get in the fire truck's ladder and bucket, raise it over the marching band members, and then spray the group with water from above. In, what was supposed to be a fun showcase of support for those struggling with ALS. When the time for the ALS ceremony came, many community members were in attendance. One photographer snapped a photo of the scene, the image showcasing the inspiring moment right as the band was being drenched in water, dispatched by Tony and a couple of other firemen. After the challenge was filmed, Tony and the crew were descended in the bucket ladder back down to the ground. But at some point during this descent, the bucket came in close proximity to an electrical line. While neither the bucket or Tony ever physically touched the line, the electrical current from it was powerful enough to close the gap. Tony and the other firemen were instantaneously electrocuted by the high voltage current, incapacitating the men and knocking.
See, I totally thought in my head just now that he was about to tell me that that it happened from the water. I thought it was that they like used the water hose or something and drenched those kids. I did not expect, like, I thought maybe, it'd knock over the kids if they used the actual fire hose, Okay, but basically by saying that, I'm just saying that I did not expect this. I did not expect this. That's nuts.
Electricity out to the surrounding area. The inspiring ceremony quickly turned into a living nightmare. The electrocuted firemen were eventually recovered from the bucket and rushed to the hospital, with the community traumatized but hopeful that they would survive. It wouldn't be weeks until the fates of these men became public knowledge. 2 of them were released from the hospital and made a full recovery. Unfortunately, Tony's case was far more severe. He had taken the brunt of the electric shock and was in critical condition for close to a month. Sadly, on September 21st, it was announced that Tony had succumbed to his electrical injury and was pronounced dead.
Now that's just messed up, man. That's just messed up. They should have, I mean, I don't know. Hindsight's 2020, So it's kind of like, it's messed up to even make any other assumptions, but I really just feel like, why wouldn't they have looked for that? Like, why wouldn't the fire department have been like, we should probably stay away from the electricity poles, where we just poured a shitload of water all over all these kids and all this stuff. it's like, I don't know, it kind of makes you upset in that way because it's like, you know, the system, as far as like, you know, looking out and making sure stuff's done right. I mean, it's almost like they should have they should have known. They should have known that something like this could happen because it kind of to me sounds like he had no clue. So, yeah, he wasn't even thinking about getting shocked and then got shocked, man.
A public funeral would be held in the man's honor, which included a procession of fire trucks and hundreds of local residents coming together in mourning. Months later, Tony was memorialized with a statue at Taylor Regional Hospital. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the segment, you never would have expected the death to happen the way that it did. Death by hot chip challenge. The consumption of spicy foods like peppers and hot sauces has long garnered attention.
You would think that I don't know though. I don't know. All it would take is to over consume something that was crazy hot like that, you know?
Online. There have been entire YouTube channels that have made names for themselves by eating spicy morsels, literally getting views by just torturing your mouth.
Treatments are not one size fits all, and it's important to find the one
That does not sound that pleasing.
that
For sure.
works best for you. It's okay to feel like a treatment isn't working for you. I didn't feel like my treatment regimen was the best for me based on my needs.
Sorry, guys. I usually have that more set up so that it's ready to be turned off. But let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think about what we've seen so far. Like, what is your guys' thought process on the fact that people would do these things to try and get a selfie and then or for a challenge or whatever, and then still, you know, still die and stuff. It's just crazy. It's just crazy to me.
I would go as far as to say that there's like an unspoken competition among the human race for who can stomach the spiciest thing. Oh, you down to raw ghost pepper without drinking a drop of milk? You know, that's bragging rights. That being said, capsaicin competition doesn't come without risks. There have been literally hundreds of documented cases involving people being hospitalized or even killed due to adverse reactions from eating spicy foods. This usually takes the form of respiratory distress or anaphylactic allergic reactions. It's also possible that someone could experience complications from vomiting, such as choking or even esophageal rupture. While such cases are extremely rare, one must enter the arena of spice with caution, which brings us to the case of the hot chip challenge. The hot chip challenge, as
Let me tell you guys something. When this challenge came out, really, all the ones I seen was like the gas station guy where he was like going around and trying to get people to do it at gas stations. And then I seen one where it was like a video compiled and they were trying to get people that were like homeless to do it. And I thought that was like real cold of them to do. But in the same token of saying that, like, these chips ain't nothing to play with. Every time I have watched a video, like I see lots of videos on Twitter of them, and like they are straight. Like people immediately like want milk, water, anything to try and get rid of it. By the way, guys, milk does help. And I've also heard toothpaste before. I know it sounds dumb, but I've never tried toothpaste, but I have done milk before because, well, I know that works. But
we know it involves the consumption of this particular snack food product, the Pocky One Chip Challenge chip. Encased in a coffin-shaped cardboard box embossed with skulls is the Pocky chip, a large tortilla chip dusted with powders extracted from Carolina Reaper peppers, Sichuan peppers, and scorpion peppers. The chip's potency has been estimated by some to be at over 2 million Scoville heat units, a pain level described by a chili expert as equivalent to eating molten lava. While certainly a hyperbolic description, if you watch videos online of people eating these things, well, there's no better way to put it. They look like they're about to fucking die.
Okay.
Oh, 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 it's so hot. Oh, it's so hot, it's so hot, it's so hot.
Oh shit.
The Pocky One Chip Challenge instructs users to eat the one chip and then not drink any water or liquids for a whole hour. You're encouraged to film this process and publish it online as proof, hence the viral nature of this fad. The Pocky's challenge became quite successful, and the potent chip could be commonly found in gas stations and grocery stores around the US after it went viral. But the growth of the fad was not without its health-concerning hang-ups. Pocky apparently became concerned that at-risk individuals such as children and pregnant women could be harmed by their challenge. So to cover their ass, they later added a warning label that recommended such groups avoid the challenge altogether. But as you might expect, kids who were hyped off of the social media craze, they could care less about a label and wanted to get in on the one chip trend and impress their friends. Many children would be hospitalized after participating, triggering subsequent bannings of the chips in some school districts around the United States, with school administrators fearing that children would start doing the challenge at school and getting hurt. And a lot of kids were doing the challenge at school, but nothing all too tragic had happened yet. That was until September 1st, 2023.
A sad story out of Massachusetts where a teen who took part in a spicy tortilla chip challenge has died.
Harris Woloba, a 14-year-old from Worcester, Massachusetts, was in class at Doherty Memorial High School when one of his friends offered him a Pocky One Chip. Harris had apparently been wanting to try the challenge, so he ate the chip, suffering through the pain while in class. Eventually, Harris developed a stomach ache and got sent to the nurse's office, and there he confessed to eating the Pocky chip. The nurse then contacted the boy's mother and informed her about the situation. Soon after, the mom came to pick up Harris. On the way home, he reportedly started to feel better, and the mother considered the Pocky-induced complications resolved. But the chip was just getting started. Later in the day, at around 4:30 p.m., as Harris was supposed to be getting ready for a high school basketball team tryout, he was discovered unconscious by his brother. The 14-year-old was immediately rushed to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. The one chip had apparently claimed its first victim, but how exactly? Harris's death was absolutely shocking to those at the school who knew him, and the circumstances surrounding it were a complete mystery to most people. That was until the family of Harris created a GoFundMe, which shared the details of what happened and the chip. The GoFundMe page would state, "On September 1st, my Aunt Lois's young son, Harris, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 14 from what we suspect to be complications due to the one chip challenge. Autopsy pending. The pain our family is experiencing is unimaginable. Harris was a light that lit up the room with his presence and subtle charm. He was an intelligent, quirky..."
The crazy part is that he was 14 and it was a challenge. It wasn't worth it. Ooh, that's all that's going through my mind. It's really messed up. That's messed up. But I get where he's coming from though, where like being a teen and then like seeing something like that as like a challenge and being like, wow, I want to try it.
An incredibly talented young man who loved video games and playing basketball. Our family is planning to lay Harris to rest in the coming weeks, so I'm hoping that with the help of this compassionate community, we can raise enough funds to alleviate the burden of funeral expenses for his parents and siblings during this incredibly difficult time. Thank you in advance for your support. Your compassion and kindness resonate profoundly with us. With love, the Lama and Woloba family. With the Paki element now public, media reports were linking the one-chip challenge to a death for the first time, and Paki was put on notice. Harris's death and the allegation resulted in massive backlash for the one-chip manufacturer, whose branding included many macabre elements such as skulls and allusions to death. Their website header also had some death-associated iconography and messaging, such as the motto, "How long can you last before you spiral out?" In the wake of recent events, that rather grim motto was
I think that they were just thinking like, this is a really like strong, powerful chip, and they were like thinking, well, I don't know, because it's like really grabby and catchy colors and graphics, you know. But at the same time, I get where they were coming from because they knew that it was like, I mean, them chips ain't nothing to play with.
was deleted, along with
That's
other
true.
edgy marketing mottos found on their webpage. A full-blown panic ensued as parents around the US demanded the product to be removed from stores in an effort to protect their children. Paki seemingly complied, with the brand issuing a full product recall out to retailers and offering refunds to customers who requested them. Meanwhile, Harris's mother would speak to the media. She was fully convinced that the chip was the reason behind her boy's death and wanted the one chip to be fully discontinued.
What do you want to happen in terms of that chip company?
I wanted to be shut down. Yeah, I don't want it to happen to anybody.
And it seemed the brand itself actually agreed with the calls for their product to be discontinued, with a spokesman stating, quote, "While the Paki One Chip Challenge is intended for adults only, we have seen an increase in teen usage of the product. We care about all of our customers and have made the decision to remove the product from shelves." Some of you might be wondering, like, yo, so the Paki
Jeez. That's a crazy move to have to make. But I could see how they made so much money from doing the chip challenge. Because it's literally one chip they had to make. And I don't know. How much did that just say that was? I think
brand is just gonna give everything up and close up their entire operation just because of this controversy? At the time, Paki was actually nothing more than a brand under the Hershey company. Hershey acquired Paki through the acquisition of another company, Amplify Snacks, back in 2018. So you might imagine, you got a company like Hershey that has countless amounts of income streams. Yeah, they would be more than happy to nuke this silly chip brand that could possibly land them in a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. Months later, in May of 2024, the autopsy report for Harris's body had been completed and confirmed the Paki One chip played a role, listing the cause of death as cardiopulmonary arrest in the setting of recent ingestion of food substance with high capsaicin concentration. It was also noted that Harris had an enlarged heart and a congenital heart defect, specifically myocardial bridging of the left anterior descending coronary artery. Myocardial bridging occurs when a segment of a major heart artery runs through a heart muscle instead of on the surface of it, putting one at higher risk for ischemic conditions, as there is now constant pressure being exerted on the walls of the artery because it's surrounded by muscle. At least that's my understanding of the disorder. Dr. James Udelson, who is chief of cardiology at Tufts Medical Center, had this to say in regard to Harris's case and how the chip could have caused an ischemic episode leading to death. Quote, "It's possible that with significant stimulation of the heart, the muscle beyond the bridge suddenly had abnormal blood flow, ischemia, and could have been a cause of severe arrhythmia. There have been reports of acute toxicity with capsaicin causing ischemia of the heart muscle." Basically, the doc saying that, the capsaicin put stress on his heart, and this combined with the pre-existing congenital issue, it could have caused a ischemic condition where there wasn't blood flow to the heart muscle, and he died.
So then realistically, the kid shouldn't have had it in the first place or never got to try it in the first place. That's first off. Second off, his heart was enlarged. He already had a defect that was affecting him, it's like, I mean, I feel completely, you know, terrible because of, you know, he passed over a freaking chip challenge. That's so stupid. Like, you know, um, it hurts a little bit, you know, because like I said, that's the youth, and that I did, but Hershey did the right thing, so you got to at least give him that.
Died.
Hold on here. Gotta get through these real quick, but what do you guys think of the Taki chip? Let me know in the comments too. If you guys made it this far in the video, then I'll know when I look at the comments if you made it to the Taki, me talking at the Taki part. But basically, it's just cold how everything works out like that, especially when it's such a big brand like that. But here.
Whatever the case, after the autopsy confirmed the chip's involvement, the Pocky brand put out an additional statement. Quote, "We were and remain deeply saddened by the death of Harris Wolaba and extend our condolences to his family and friends. Pocky's One Chip Challenge was intended for adults only, with clear and prominent labeling highlighting that the product was not for children or anyone sensitive to spicy foods or with underlying health conditions. We saw increased reports of teens and other individuals not heeding these warnings. The Pocky brand and its One Chip Challenge would be quietly discontinued."
How are they supposed to when the challenge is right in front of their face all over their social medias, and people are like doing it, and then they're like, yeah, they're having crazy reactions, but then at the very end they're completely good. So you know, he probably thought he was good. I don't know. I think, you know, in my head it's like a little bit of a cop out, but you know, that's just how I kind of feel, you know, just from, but I get where they're coming from because they did label it and it was in huge letters. So you have to give, there's like two sides to, you know, every coin.
Continued in 2024. Despite the brand's efforts at preventing legal issues, in July of 2024, Harris's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against them, which included Hershey's, who owned the Pocky brand, and Walgreens, a retail store known for commonly stocking the product. This is certainly one of the most bizarre deaths linked to a popular internet challenge, and sadly, like many others that we've discussed, it involved a teenager. Death by planking. One of the earliest viral internet-based challenges was planking, a grassroots online fad of sorts involving people laying flat or
This was literally the stupidest trend. Continue.
Planking on top of an object, snapping a photo of this action and then sharing it to social media or forums for attention. It started off as nothing more than a quirky, you know, look how random and weird I am kind of thing, but later evolved into something of a competition. Before long, the web was becoming populated with photos of individuals planking in dangerous positions, taking what began as an innocuous and fun trend to something far more concerning. Which leads us to the story of 20-year-old Acton Beale of Brisbane, Australia. Acton had been introduced to the concept of planking sometime in May of 2011 by a friend of his. This friend has been described by some as a planking expert and formed an online group that was solely dedicated to one-upping each other with crazy planking photos. On Facebook, they called themselves the Brisbane Planking Association, or BPA. Acton would be indoctrinated into the group and would also find himself testing fate with his own risky planks. On the night of May 14th of 2011, Acton had gone out drinking with his buddies. During this romp, they made sure to plank around various areas of Brisbane in what they likely saw as drunken yet harmless fun. But their escapade took a dark turn around 4:30 in the morning. Acton, heavily inebriated, was hanging out on an apartment balcony located at an inner-city apartment block on Kangaroo Point's Main Street. And it's here that he decides to attempt his most dangerous plank yet. He climbed onto the balcony railing, laid face down on it, and stretched out into planking position, balancing his body weight across it. However, this proved to be a catastrophic mistake, as moments after assuming the position, the man lost his balance and rolled off the railing, plummeting down 7 stories and slamming onto the asphalt below. Paramedics were immediately called and attempted to resuscitate Acton for nearly 20 minutes, but unfortunately he succumbed to his injury and was soon pronounced dead. The first death by planking was now in the books.
There's a difference between a harmless bit of fun done somewhere that's really safe and taking a risk with your life. This is a really tragic thing. There'd be a family that's just devastated.
Sadly, those who knew Acton had little time to grieve. Not long after his death, the incident was being reported about worldwide. Media outlets were covering the story, making a public mockery out of Acton's case due to it being connected to the viral planking trend. Instead of sympathy, the attitude towards Acton's death was often mockery and a fuck around and find out style sentiment. Some on the internet even insinuated that it was a good thing that Acton had died, because they thought what he did was so stupid. I wish this would happen to more people who plank. The gene pool is cleansed a little bit. I feel no sympathy for this man. He was killed by his own stupidity. A Facebook tribute page was put up for Acton, though it got quickly shut down due to the plethora of hateful comments and derisive messages it was receiving from malicious trolls who were apparently fatigued by the planking fad. As a final note, and really insult to injury, Acton was given the dishonor of receiving the 2011 Darwin Award by DarwinAwards.com, a website that has given awards every year since 1993 to people who have taken themselves out of the gene pool doing something stupid. Looks like Acton fit the bill. Next, we'll move to a growing challenge trend that's currently going on TikTok, which is beginning to claim the lives of young people. The table surfing death. Table surfing is a recently surfacing online trend that involves tying an upside-down table to the tow hitch of a vehicle via a rope, and then towing the table along with somebody on it as they surf or hold on to the legs like they're water skiing. It wouldn't take long before tragedies resulted from this trend. On June 1st of 2025 at around 1:30 a.m.
You could have called that one. You could have called that one. I'll tell you that much.
17-year-old David Nagy was in the midst of filming said challenge, with him surfing on a folding table that was tied to the back of his friend's car. The stunt taking place in the Freedom High School parking lot in Northampton County, Pennsylvania. As you might imagine, catastrophe struck in this case. The driver accelerated, which caused David to whip around and subsequently slam into a parked vehicle. According to reports, David sustained blunt force trauma to the head and died on impact. The teenager responsible for driving was arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter, though David's parents are actually close with the driver's family and are pushing for this person not to be jailed. Because of this, the district attorney isn't seeking jail time. That is, if the driver accepts a plea deal and registers in the district's first-time offender program. If this is completed, it's reported that the incident will be wiped from public record. Table surfing has become quite a common sight as of recently online, and platforms like TikTok are getting a lot of flack for the existence of it. Though according to the company, they're doing just about everything they can to suppress this particular challenge. A TikTok spokesperson has put out a statement regarding table and car surfing, claiming videos involving the act are in violation of their community guidelines. They say that 99.8% of these videos are removed almost instantly by algorithms, with only a few of them slipping through the cracks. At the end of the day, it's difficult to stop teens from being reckless, but I think with this next challenge, youth cannot be used as an excuse. This is downright idiotic no matter how young you are. The No Lacking Challenge. The No Lacking Challenge is probably one of the most brazen in today's coverage. It involves two friends, or even rivals, who will test each other's readiness for armed conflict. If you're caught lacking, that means you don't have a firearm on you. So the way this works is the challenger pulls up on somebody with a gun drawn, and then they're like, "Are you lacking?" And to pass the challenge, the other guy is supposed to pull out their concealed firearm and be like, "Nah, I'm not lacking." And then the challenge is complete. Yes, I know, it's really blackpilling and fucking stupid. So if you're caught lacking, that means you don't have a firearm in your possession and you just got exposed for not being prepared, I guess. Now, it goes without saying, pointing potentially loaded guns at other people for social media attention is extremely problematic. And there have been multiple instances where the No Lacking Challenge has ended up in people getting shot. Really, I never would have guessed. One instance involved two friends pulling out guns on each other inside of a moving car. And when said car hit a speed bump, one participant accidentally pulled their trigger, leading to the associate getting shot in the face.
Apparently they were playing this game while going down the road. They crossed over the railroad tracks on FM 149 in Richards. When they crossed over the tracks, they hit the bump on the tracks, which caused the firearm to discharge, striking the victim in the face.
Another no-lacking disaster happened when a 17-year-old got shot in the head at a restaurant while two people were participating in the challenge.
Early Thursday morning, a 17-year-old was shot in the head at East Cafe on Union Avenue. According to this affidavit, 21-year-old Sherman Lackland was sitting in a booth with two people he knew playing the No Lacking Challenge when Lackland reportedly accidentally shot his friend.
A real loud bang, and then I seen the guy sitting across from him fall on the floor.
The most notable gun-related disaster allegedly associated with the No Lacking Challenge occurred in...
You know that the crazier part is that all they're wanting to do is just be funny or, like, you know, be a part of, like, what that is, you know what I'm saying? Like, to feel cool, like, oh, I got a gun. Oh, you got your gun too? Oh. Man. The driving over the railroad tracks one was the craziest one to me. I was like, just appalled at how that could even be the case, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could, I just don't, unless you had like I don't know. If he had like a real, like, easy trigger on that shit, I get it. I guess I could see it, but I just don't know. But, yeah, real dumb.
Houston, Texas. In Houston, Texas, on December 11th of 2018, 19-year-old Christian Johnson was at his home, hanging out with his friend Muhammad Alajil. Both were allegedly participating in the No Lacking Challenge, but as they brandished their weapons, something went awry. It's reported that Christian had his AR-15 pointed at Muhammad, while Muhammad directed a semi-automatic pistol at Christian's head. The friendly challenge turned disastrous, though, as Muhammad pulled the trigger at some point, shooting Christian directly in the head. After his friend was shot, Muhammad dropped his gun and ran from the scene. Muhammad made no attempt to call the police, though authorities would catch up to him after Christian's brothers reported the shooting. During his police interview, Muhammad allegedly told them initially that he had shot Christian in self-defense, but later changed his story, saying that the two were participating in the No Lacking Challenge. Afterwards, Muhammad was arrested and charged with second-degree manslaughter. While police have asserted that the No Lacking Challenge is what led up to this killing, Christian's family have protested this, arguing that the courts are being too easy on Muhammad and that it was no game gone wrong. They say that the guy was trying to rob Christian. Christian's sister would say, quote, "I think he should be charged with first-degree murder."
I think this was a totally different situation. This was not the No Lacking Challenge. I don't know how this made this into this guy's video, but I don't think that this was a No Lacking Challenge, because the guy said it was self-defense when he got to the police station. If it was a No Lacking Challenge, he would have said that as soon as he got there. Like, that would have been his first thing. He's lying because he knew the self-defense wasn't going to work, and he probably was told by somebody about the No Lacking Challenge and was like, well, shit, I could just say he had his gun, I had my gun, we pulled it to each other's heads. But I guarantee you money, he was trying to rob the dude, and the dude grabbed his AR-15, and as soon as he grabbed it, he shot the dude in the fucking in the head. You know, that's just like the cold reality of it. But it's just messed up. But like I said, I don't think that this should. I mean, it should be in here because of the fact that he switched his story to that. But
he planned to come into my house and kill and rob my brother. Muhammad, a Syrian citizen, was actually out on bond for an armed robbery charge before he had allegedly killed Christian. His new bond is currently set at $250,000. It'll be interesting to see if there is something more to this robbery allegation. Perhaps he made up the No Lacking Challenge alibi to make Christian seem more at fault for his own demise and lessen the blame on himself. And well, you made it to the end of the video. Let me know what you guys thought about it down below in the comments section, and let me know who or what you want me to talk about next. I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf.
Wavy Web Surf. Like I said, everyone go watch this video, go follow, go like. I'm gonna go over real quick and do that. All right. Like I said, guys, I would say number one rule to start out with is never do these stupid challenges. That's number one. Number two, if it requires something that's gonna, probably end up in self-harm of some sort, not self-harm. Well, technically, like the drunk guy on the edge, these guys with the guns. I mean, there's only so many situations you can have before you start to realize that, like, you probably, like I said, just don't do these challenges. But this has been Willie P. I'm signing out. I appreciate you guys. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and have a nice night.